What's going on, Coldwater Nation? It's Geoff, and we're back with our monthly fly tying series. Now, last month, you guys got to see me go through and tie the midge. If you would like to see that video, I'll have it pinned in the comments, or pinned up here somewhere. Feel free to go check that out. It was an interesting tie. I think I did a really good job on it. And moving right along to the next month, which is the month of February, we have the blue wing olive. Ignore that picture because that's not really olive, that's more amber. So this is going to be an interesting fly to tie. I do know how to do perfect wings, but I don't really know how to do perfect wings like that. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. I think that might be like a posted perfect wing because these are pulled up together in kind of like a tight pattern. You know how the mayflies have their wings folded up when they're on the water. So that might be a posted wing. We know what that is. That's typical hackle. That's probably zebra, or it looks like zebra and brown. So that might be a double hackle. That'll be fun. That'll be a palmer. And then we've got some of the same colored quills coming out the back end. So whatever quills I think we strip off for these, we'll use for the end of the fly as well, just so we're using the same material. And then we're going to use, we're not going to use amber or yellow, we're definitely going to use more traditional dark green to make this a true blue wing olive. So let's get to the vise and let's get started. Yeah. There he goes.
Oh my god, look at that! Look at that toe!
The squirmy worm is an effective and very deadly fly.
What's up, guys? My name's Brian.
And I'm Geoff.
And you're watching Empire Coldwater. Let's rip some lips.
This video is brought to you in part by Upstate Excursions and by Black Dog Outdoor Sports. So here we are at the vise, guys. First we need to pick out what hook we're going to use. Now last time we used a size 16 dry fly hook. We'll keep going with that tradition because this is another dry fly, so we'll use a size 16 dry fly hook. So let's get that. And while I'm at it, I can see it on top of my box. I will also grab my green thread. So first let's get that hook. There we go, got it right on top. Size 16 from Tiemco, Umpqua. Size 16 dry fly. And then we have our, as usual, 8/0 Orvis thread in a kind of a lighter green. That way we have a contrast. I did actually grab the right dubbing. I've got this Spectra Blend Blue Wing Olive dubbing. I know the picture that was on the box, or I should say on the monthly tie, was not this dark green. It was more of an amber, but you can't have a Blue Wing Olive and have it be yellow. Olive is green, always has been. So we'll use this Blue Wing Olive dubbing and with the green thread. I already had this out. This is the style feathers we'll be using for the hackle. I already had this out. I've been going through and tying a bunch of Ausable flies, and Ausable patterns call for a lot of this color of thin hackle feather. So I have a bunch of it, and I had it out. So we'll use some strands of this. You can see there's some browns in there, and there's a lot of zebra in here, but there's some browns hidden in there. We'll definitely be using the darker browns if we can. And maybe we'll use the lighter browns. Yeah, maybe we'll use the lighter browns. Those look pretty good. But we'll definitely be using a brown and a zebra style hackle feather. Alright. And then diving into this box, which is a bunch more stuff. We are looking for mallard. There we go. So these are mallard flanks, and mallard flanks are fantastic for doing perfect wings. I know the pattern says blue wing olive, but we're definitely going to keep these in reserve. We're going to try to initially tie the wings with CDC. I have some blue CDC feathers, but that may end up being a little too wispy. That might be a little too fragile. So if that doesn't end up working out, we'll definitely switch over to tying in a mallard flank instead. Loose hair. Got swords. Here we go. CDC. Small package of blue CDC feathers. Looking at them, I don't know if they're going to work, but we'll see if we can make them work. So we've got our CDC feathers for the wing. If that doesn't work, we'll use a mallard flank. I have much confidence in mallard flank to pull off a perfect wing. We've got our two different colors for the hackle at the neck as well as the tail. And then we have our blue wing olive dubbing. We have our green 8/0 thread. And we have our hook. So let's go ahead and get our hook out. Get our thread on our bobbin. So we're actually going to take advice from most of the Catskill dries here, and we're going to start about a eye's length. So you see how this has an eye? We'll start about an eye's length behind it, and that's where we'll start our thread. And let's go down the whole body. Throw that in our waist cup. Always good to have. And let's finish up. Getting the thread right about there seems good. Okay. Take off that zebra one. Probably a little wide for what we're looking for. Let's take off this golden brown one. It's got that section of golden brown. We'll go ahead and use that. That seems like a fair trade-off. So now that we got those segments figured out, let's take some fibers off the end here. Use the pinch wrap here. Basically what you do is you pinch the thread between your fingers. Allows you to tie those in relatively easily. So first thing we're going to try out, we're going to pull out one of these CDC feathers. And I honestly don't know if I can do a perfect wing with them. The stem is relatively thick, and I don't know if I can get all of them to peel. Yeah, it's probably going to be a no. Well, maybe. This one I'm just experimenting with. It's not what I'm actually tying in. No, if we can get it to split like that, we might be able to perfect wing with some CDC. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves a different feather. Now you'll see some people on YouTube use a glue bottle or like a tip of a glue bottle. I don't really like doing that. I find that I can do it just as easy this way. And that should be long enough. Kind of cinched in place. Take some tight wraps here. Now before we snip this off, I'm going to bend it backwards here a little bit. Let's see if we can get these things to pull apart nicely. There's one. Oh, shoot. That's not good. Broke on the other side. Darn. Well, we got one side to go nice, but as you can see, it's kind of collapsed and it doesn't really look like the picture. So we're going to back this up and we're just going to do a mallard flank. I think what we can do is once we get the perfect wing in there, we'll take some of the CDC from that feather we were trying to split and we'll put that in between the wings to give it that bluish hue that we were looking for. So, gotta grab a smaller mallard flank here. Doesn't have to be tiny, but a smaller one. Just to try to keep the proportions. And once you get the mallard flank, you want to strip off all the extra fuzz. They're stripped evenly. Something like that. That's a mallard flank. And these are incredibly easy to perfect wing with because they've got really strong fibers, a really strong center to their feather. A little tricky to get separated, but once you get going, it's pretty easy. Just wetting my fingers a little bit so I can pull those barbules back. Like it like that. Oh, we can slide a little bit more out. Okay. Let's see. Let's go with that. That looks fine to me. Take some tight wraps here just to make sure it's all secured in. Before we snip off the end, let's go through and actually split this wing. All right, there's one. Let's see, can we get number 2? Oh, I got thin fast. Okay, there's number 2. Let's get these pinched up. Let's work our thread back to the front, in front of these wings. Nice. And little strands here, get those trimmed away. And then the rest we'll see underneath the thread. So, all right, let's go ahead and snip off the top of these wings here. Nice. Now in the picture, they're folded back a little bit. So we'll work our thread up the front of them gently. We're building up a thread dam. Try to pull those wings down a little bit. There we go. That looks better. Leave them just like that too. Move our thread up. And then let's fill out the rest of this body. Now it's time to add the dubbing. So as always, we'll use our dubbing wax. Just always a good idea to use dubbing wax. I like using it. Makes dubbing noodles a little easier to do. Just that little amount of a wisp will be enough to dub most of this body, but we'll keep the other pinch set aside just in case we need it. Not a ton of dubbing going to be needed for this one. Alright. And then we said we were going to come back with some of that CDC to try to fill in that plumage. So what we're going to do instead, that just wasn't working, we'll go ahead and find ourselves a few CDC feathers that are roughly the same size. And kind of like the reverse process of what we've done already. We get that blue fuzz in there. Got it wrapped in a few times. Let's go ahead and trim it. And set those aside. We'll end up using those for dubbing or something at another point. So now we'll measure up the hackle fibers, the hackle feathers, and start kind of getting these tied in. Tie them in at the head. So you strip it back just a little bit and then you trim it to length to try to get the eye to match. I've got both the feathers here in my hand. I got the zebra and the brown in my hand here. So we're just going to be tying those in. We're going to start doing some hackle wraps here. We don't got to do a lot of them, just enough to build up the neck. You can see I'm struggling a little bit with the thread, trying to get it to wrap. Just trying to get that in there. Just take your time. You're going to grab some fibers naturally. There's not a lot of ways to prevent that, at least from what I've experienced. It's possible using a thinner thread probably would have been better here, so maybe not even an 8/0 using a 12/0. But now we'll go ahead and we'll take our brown feather and we'll start wrapping that in. Once we get the zebra feather trimmed away, trim off the excess here. So I made a pretty big oopsie here. I was trying to get too fancy with it, and I was trying to really avoid getting those extra feathers tied in there, and I just didn't have tight enough wraps, so it ended up slipping, which ultimately sucks because it means I'll have to pull out the feather and start over. In retrospect, I did way too many hackle wraps there. I really tightened myself on the head, but I don't even really learn from my mistake on this one, because I go ahead later on and I got everything a little too tight to the head, and I could have taken fewer hackle wraps and still been fine. So we go ahead and we're going to try to whip finish here, and I'm having serious issues because I'm just trying to finish the fly at this point. And then I go in and I trim off the forward-facing hackle parts that are just in the way. It came out really horribly. So we'll take a second stab at this. I'll show you guys the second attempt that I made after I went away and I thought about it for a bit. So some things that I sat down and I looked at is I like the tail and I like the wings. I don't really like the CDC. The CDC was a little bit too much to add, and it really messed up the placement of the hackle fibers, and I ended up with way too thick of a head. So we're definitely not going to do the CDC next time, or if we do it, we're going to do it earlier in the tie. But something that I looked at and we're going to do next time is we're definitely going to tie the wings a lot farther back. Not too terribly far back in terms of actual distance, but where they are now is right about where the hackle wants to be. So we're going to move them back just a smidge when we tie the next one, so that we're not killing ourselves trying to fit all of that at the head. It just didn't fit, and it caused some issues. So like last time, size 16 dry fly hook in the vise. Go ahead and strip off some fibers here from one of these feathers. Before we actually do that, we gotta get our thread started. We'll actually start our thread about, come on, there. Oh, come on, you. Fine. Guess we're starting a little farther back than I wanted, but go ahead, tear this off. Not tear it off, but cut it off. And get the thread down about there. And then let's pinch wrap these in. Yeah, I don't really like those. So what we're gonna do, since this is kind of fighting me, so we'll actually use some woodchuck guard hairs. Make up the tail here. Measure them up to be about a hook shank. Trim off the excess. So we're going to get to the end of this, and we're going to start our Wally wing right there, almost near the center. So that way we have plenty of space up near the head to accomplish this. So go ahead and get ourselves another mallard flank, small mallard flank. Put some tight wraps in here. Try to cinch that down. Let's work our thread back up. Take a nice, very tight wrap. And then let's split these. That actually split much better than last time. Last time it didn't really split nice at all. Trim that off. Trim off the back half here. Just really try to work that thread in thin. Get those wings to stand up. That's pretty close. At least they're up. Snip those off. And then let's back wrap a little bit. Very small amount of dubbing. That should be good enough there. Just a tiny pinch. Build up a little thread. Just to tie down on. And then let's grab our hackle feathers. Not a ton of space for hackles, so we don't need to go crazy with the wraps here. Make sure that's good and captured. Go ahead and trim that off. Looks like we're only getting about 3 or 4 turns with that one. Make sure that one's all good and cinched in. Grab our little pen head here. Try to push those hackle fibers back just a little bit. I think unfortunately for this fly we're going to have to do some trimming around the head. We got a little overzealous with the hackle. thread after we get our wood finish on there. And let's clean up these errant fibers. And I think that came out a little bit cleaner. The Wally wings are not perfect. It's hard to do when they're that small, but I'd say it's pretty close. But obviously you guys will let me know. It's not super happy with these Wallies. The Wallying on the other one was a little bit better before I added the extra garbage. Maybe if I had hose strapped them, they would have been a little bit better. But this one certainly came out a lot better than this one here. But I'm sure you guys will let me know down in the comments below how you think I did. I think the Wally came out better on this one than that one. This one's a little flat, but a little too rounded over on the front. It's not as flat as that one. But like I said, I'm sure you guys will let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this monthly fly tying video.
We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw today, consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, tight lines, everybody.